So sitting in a posture which is straight and still, how you place your arms and your legs is not so important, but it is important that you keep straight back and don't allow your posture to be distorted. Keep your head straight as if some force is gently pulling the top of your head towards the ceiling. And we give the mind some work to do. We give it a job. This is how we train the mind. Just as in the world, if you have a new employee who has a degree from university, you still don't know whether they can actually work well, whether they know their job. So you give them a task to do, and you observe how well they do that task, how they deal with the problems that arise. And it's similar with your mind. You give it this job to do. Can you stay with the sensation of the in-breath and the sensation of the out-breath? How do you protect the mind to prevent it from wandering off into imagination, memory, fantasy? And when the mind does wander off, how do you bring it back? How do you encourage your mind to stay with your object? So the human nature is that we dislike pain, we like pleasure, to be happy. So this is a challenge in beginning of meditation. It's not so pleasurable, it's hard. Your mind fights, it rebels like a wild animal. So you have to be very, very patient. But from the beginning, simply observe that when we breathe in, there is a certain natural pleasure of taking oxygen into the body. And as the body is filled with air, there is the need to release the air, and that release of the out-breath is naturally pleasant. So although the very profound joy and rapture of meditation may be a long way off, we can still recognize this small, pleasant feeling that arises naturally together with the in-breath, together with the out-breath. And that is an observation which will strengthen the mind's interest in the breath and resist the temptation to indulge in memory and imagination. So one way to stay with the breath and to train the mind in the beginning is to count the breaths. So when you've got an in-breath, you count 1, and out-breath 1. And then the next in-breath is 1, 2, and then the next out-breath is 2. And count 3, 3, 4, 4, 5, 5. And if you can get all the way to 5 without forgetting, then you start again and count to 6. And if you can get all the way to 6, then you count to 7, and then to 8, then to 9, then to 10. This is kind of a warm-up exercise just to develop a certain level of mindfulness of the breath. So whether you use a mantra or you count your breaths, these are preliminary practices in order to create a strong bond of interest between the mind and the object. So not allowing the mind to get caught up in frustration and becoming bored or negative about the practice when we find it difficult. So starting again. This kind of patience and resilience is a very essence of the meditation practice. Just very patiently, just as if we're learning how to play a musical instrument. Any kind of complex task need a great deal of application and humility. It's not something that anyone gets right straight away or gets right very easily. You have to work on this to develop this power of awareness and clarity of mind. Mind which is both stable and firm, but also with a lightness and a flexibility and a gentleness.